Yeah.
Benard, the assistant cognitive scientist, right?
He's the. I would call him a cognitive scientist, but he's too humble to say that.
Too humble. I can see that.
He has to put in. But he's been with us through a very pivotal time, so he's core member of the team.
Doing something important for the development of this product, right? Taking it in the right direction.
It's
Giving my feedback regarding certain cognitive skills, what might be interesting to develop games for, then helping with calculation, the scoring, and so on, yeah.
there isn't really the perfect path when you're in uncharted territory at the intersection of AI, cognitive science, VR, spatial computing, augmented reality. All of these things are described as emerging technologies or even as exponential technologies, because at a certain point they start opening up possibilities that are unexpected, and there's consequences to certain best practices you follow otherwise when you're developing an app for a screen-based experience that you would never even realize would pop up when you're developing for 3D worlds. And in terms of what we're developing here at Virtuleap, it's something that potentially has a cognitive benefit that you can't really say before it's validated scientifically, clinically, and rubber stamped with all of the approvals that allows you to say something out loud in the public. We have to be very careful in saying what it is we do is what we think we're doing, but actually we can only say that we're doing much more minimal things at the current time. So cognitive training and assessment, where I think we can say we're cognitive assessment for sure. Cognitive training, well, what does training mean? Hopefully it means what we think it means. Hopefully it implies for the aging population something that will help with cognitive decline conditions, but we don't know. We have to see. And as of today, you're finding us at a really interesting time because we're in fact launching today the beta release. So it's probably the perfect day to ever appear in the office. And so besides the app itself, we are the first of our kind to develop also a companion admin panel. And this admin panel is a dashboard for organizations to be able to manage and monitor the performance of their users. This allows the data side of things to be leveraged and made into a much more effective tool that in the combination with AI. I mean, there's things like what we call predictive analytics that we're working on. Again, this is stuff that we just can't claim to do anything that we want to say we're doing, but baby steps, and today's a big step.
So Amir, I guess experimentation is a strong word here, keyword that is, you're always experimenting new things. And I see you being very careful with what you promise to the market or to your audience. So you're not promising any specific results in terms of brain cognitive enhancement or anything like that. But for sure, you see the potential in many other areas, especially as you said, in terms, maybe you can even diagnose mental problems. Is that something that you think your product will do?
I think diagnosis is going to be something that more or less people can do from all sorts of ways, but essentially when you are able to get a large sample of people using something, you can try to get a baseline, and then from that baseline, even if it's an internal baseline, you can try to see if there's an erratic sample within that group, and then you can say that that's diagnostic to some extent. But the main thing is to tie in what we're doing with the general scientific community and the standards by which most things are done and analyzed and diagnosed. We can't be happy with our own way of doing it. And so that's kind of the journey, experimenting as we go forward. But we have to, with the help of Benard as a cognitive scientist and as Victoria as a neuroscientist, and the white paper we're beginning to put together as of today as well, we're going to have to align that with the international best standards.
Very good. Let's backtrack a little bit. Let me try to understand. So you're the founder of Virtuleap. How did this all start? Why Lisbon? Why are you here today? Where did it all start?
I'm the co-founder of Virtuleap. Myself and Hossein, who's the CTO, we've been working together for close to a decade, running all sorts of digital ventures together. I've moved here as of 2 years ago. I'm a contributing writer for VentureBeat, which is a top Silicon Valley blog, tech blog, and I as you know, as part of that kind of hat, I write a lot about markets and industries, and by that right, I was able to learn a lot and glean a lot about what was happening and taking place in Lisbon. It's a market that's very underestimated and yet has an extremely interesting pool of talent that is just waiting and sitting here to be leveraged and used and as fuel for all sorts of crazy cool and creative ventures that will have a Portuguese stamp all over it. I really do think that Lisbon is on a track within the next 10 years of being one of those charming tech hubs. Not necessarily the next some city, the next that city, but its own in its own right, a hub of an interesting multidisciplinary mix of talent that they have a lot of brain talent, neuroscience talent. They have a lot of developer talent, engineering talent. That pulled us in because one of the biggest things as a VR startup is burn rate. Salaries are still somewhat affordable here for a startup in a space where there is no market really yet. You need to be able to have a team with all the right talent, but within the burn rate that you have investment-wise and funding-wise. My friends in Silicon Valley can only afford 1/10 of the team size that we have right now based on our burn rate, or 1/5 of the Londoners, 1/4 of the Amsterdamers, if that's what they call themselves. And so Lisbon has that huge perk. But again, also the talent is up to international standards. They are the neuroscientists that I work with here are the best of the best.
Very good. But for example, Benard is not Portuguese. I don't know where he's from.
Slovenian.
Slovenian. Wow, amazing. I'm actually going to Slovenia next week. Maybe I should ask for some tips from him. But most other people are Portuguese here. Most of your team is they're based here in Lisbon.
Naturally, 90% will be Lisboetas, right? But especially when you're in a very niche industry like we are, you look for whoever is in this locale, and if they aren't Lisboetas, the standard language in this office is still English, even though when the 80% Portuguese are
got to keep it international and inclusive, of course. Yeah,
English is just the language that the co-founders require while we figure out how to learn it ourselves, Portuguese, and we are trying, but our plate is pretty full. Language learning is not a priority at the product launch stage. But it's our duty to learn it and speak it and open our worlds to it. But obviously the Portuguese here in our office will speak Portuguese to each other. But one of the best things about Portugal that really contrasts it against markets like Spain is that they are so multilingual, partly due to the subtitle thing of TVs not being dubbed, the channels and so on. But in Spain, for example, you'll have a way harder time finding an English fluent workforce, whereas in Portugal and particularly Lisbon, you're not going to have that much hard time finding people under 30 who speak fairly fluent English.
Yeah, that's good, and it's good if you keep your team speaking English, because then you keep your team international. It's much easier to onboard other people that maybe are not from here, and for you as well. Yeah, I think so. You should keep it international. That's, as you said, it's a good thing about Lisbon that you can find these people. It's much harder in other countries like France and Spain for the reasons you have mentioned, like the way they subtitle, maybe dub. Their TV shows and all the media they consume from outside is dubbed or whatever.
There's a xenophobic aspect to both those cultures.
A little bit.
There's an aspect. They're not xenophobic, but there's an aspect to it. I know it very well. My fiance is from Mallorca, Spain, so I'm very familiar with Spain. I'm not taking anything away from Paris. It's a top market, but not even as close as easy to get along with people and teams and the culture as it is here with the friendliest of Europe has to offer. I sound like a marketing spiel, but I really enjoy living here. My fiance really enjoys living here. Hossein, my CTO and co-founder, just moved with 2 children, a dog, and his wife since last February. and they're on track to be permanent residents here. So we're not gypsies by any means. We've parked the van or the whatever you call it, the cart, and it's here. We're here to stay.
That's exactly what we like to hear. Like why you're here, why you like Lisbon, why you think people like, how you compare it with other
Portuguese
cities.
are amazing. They're very generous. They're very patient and friendly and proactively kind of interested in people, not just because they have to in a social setting. They're very curious people. It's partly, I think, with the most recent past was there was some suffering included there, and usually periods of suffering creates character. I think the distant past of Portugal is, of course, filled with wealth and so on. But the recent past, I think, has created a certain characteristic that's very unique in Western Europe, which is a sense of community and a sense of caring for one another in a certain way. I do hear from Portuguese in relation to one another, they say that they're negative and so on. But maybe I'm really sarcastic in my humor, so I just find it all positive. But I think they are the friendliest Europe has to offer, and especially in Southern Europe, where are you going to have an international team that speaks English and so easily recruitable than Portugal?
Yeah. So you think people are easily recruited? It's easy to find talent.
No.
It's not easy.
No.
Okay.
But for us, because we're so niche, like finding a game developer who has experience in VR, that's not easy. Finding a back-end developer, maybe, but in most cities it's kind of hard. Marketing, yes. Non-technical roles, yes. In terms of certain types of skill sets, it's easy. But again, we're dealing with a population base that's pretty small.
Yes.
So sample size is the real issue.
Yeah, true. Well, that's great. I guess that's it. I think you answered most of our questions. Jason, would you like to add something or ask any questions?
No, I'm good.
Not today, Jason. You just, thank you for being here with us. Amir, thank you very much. You went to the epicenter of the question, like what we want to know, why Lisbon, why you're here. That's amazing. Just tell us where you're headed right now, where we can follow up with what you're doing.
I think if anyone wants to keep track of what Virtuleap's up to, social media, our pages on Facebook, but most importantly, Twitter is the most active. LinkedIn, of course, we have a page as well. All of those channels are frequently updated as we have updates to share. We're releasing our beta, as I mentioned, today. And if you have a VR headset, preferably Oculus headsets and preferably the Quest, which is the one without the wires and everything.
That's the one you recommend?
It is the iPod of the VR generation, and if anyone's ever considering buying a headset, it's the Quest, no doubt about it. But we'll be supporting all sorts of headsets. That's not a question. But I think VR brain training is not just for the aging population and cognitive decline. It's for anyone who wants to have you work out a few times a week at least. Hopefully, you try to eat healthy. And then along with that healthy diet, you need to, I think, increasingly be aware of brain health and cognitive health.
That's
what we're
definitely
here for.
important. Yes. But just tell me one thing. I noticed your team, they're testing with a different ad set right now. Is it because you want to polish up a little bit the experience with different kinds of headsets?
They're both Oculus headsets. One's called the Rift, and it plugs into a VR-ready laptop. It's easier to compile. I don't want to get into the jargon of it, but you can develop faster using that headset, the Rift S, and the Rift. But our app is primarily optimized for the Quest, which is the standalone. It's the one that you can go walk around 4,000 meters squared in a room, whatever. It is very sexy, and it's the one we've designed it for. But sometimes you have technical hiccups that makes you take left turns and right turns, and that's what the headsets you see over there.
That's what you get in a tech company. It's always trying to figure out problems that are
always problem solving. And in the VR scene, you have problems. Even the developers and the creators and the hardware manufacturers don't know about them until you just discover them. That's what it is to be in a startup in the emerging tech sector.
Very good. So that's it. We're going to keep an eye on Virtuleap. By the way,
One last thing.
Go ahead, please.
I'll be. We're handpicked by Web Summit to be one of the breakthrough startups pitching on November 6th on center stage, and I think we're like one, if not the only Portuguese startup in that representation, one of very few. So be there. If you are there, root us on.
November 6th, center stage, Web Summit 2019. You heard about it. You should go check it out. And by the way, it's Virtuleap. I made a mistake. I think many people can make this mistake. It's not Virtual Leap.
I saw that, and I had a really bad impression of you
I'm
at
really
first,
sorry
but
for that.
I've recovered through that. With my illness currently, I was very bitter, but I've seen it over and over again. It's not
I'm
just
really
you.
sorry.
The heart will forgive over time.
But I noticed that, and I'm here to apologize. It's Virtuleap, VirtuleapP.
Exactly.
Yes. Thank you. So, guys, don't forget VirtuleapP.com, and on social media as well. You can find Virtuleap. I will include links on the description. Thank you very much, Amir, for that. We'll leave you for now. I guess you're busy. You have a lot on your hands right now, and your team as well. So I think that's it. Over and out. Don't forget to check it out. Web Summit, November 6th, and LisbonStartups.com. Over and out.
Thank you.